Okay, so it looks like Arbutus is in the midst of a proxy fight. Whitefort Capital is coming after Arbutus. Well, Rigetti is hard to borrow now, which is frustrating. All right, so we're looking at Arbutus. We're just making some trades on Rigetti and IonQ. Got a lot of good vol here. We burn theta with our strategy. So given that we're burning theta, you know, if we can trade around our short position, always being net short, but buying on dips and shorting on rallies, we can try to burn off some of that theta with some intraday profits. And that's the whole point of volatility, right? Yeah, I mean, I think IonQ will go to 10. I mean, it's really overvalued. Okay, so this company sent a letter to Arbutus. We don't know anything about Arbutus. This is the first thing I see in my news. I like HIMS. Just momentum is super for sale right now. So like if Palantir's down or HIMS is going to be down, doesn't matter what the fundamentals are. Palantir fundamentals are great. They're better than HIMS. But Palantir's down 10% because momentum is selling right now. Okay, Whiteford Capital sends letter to Arbutus Board of Directors. Believes now is the logical time to pursue a license and collaboration agreement with strategic partner and explore all options for HBV portfolio. I will tell you, as a former Biopharma CEO, it is not easy to force a license collaboration agreement. Those big companies aren't sitting there waiting for your phone call. You know, they don't just want to sit there and say, yes, we have a big check waiting for you. I'm happy you called. Just not the way it works. I mean, I'm sure they mean more than that, but very hard to force a third party to consent to a deal. They urge Arbutus to commit no dilutive equity issuances or ATM use for another year. They formally request a meeting with the board to ensure alignment of views on path forward. Okay, Whitefort, which is a long-term investor and third largest shareholder of Arbutus, with an ownership interest of around 7% of the company, today published a letter to the board outlining its views. Here's the letter. Whitefort is a significant holder of Arbutus with 7% of the shares. In our public letter to fellow shareholders, this is another letter, in our public letter and reiterated in our private letter, we expressed our view, provided the data from the IMPROVE-I phase 2A clinical trial remain confirmatory, the company would be well positioned to pursue an agreement or, with a strategic partner. Okay, whatever. Follow the confirmatory results, which reported that in cohort A1, 50% of patients achieved a functional cure. We believe the time has now come. Again, you can't force Gilead or Novartis to do a deal. I mean, they just don't work that way. They do deals on their time. They don't ask for permission. That's just the nature of biopharma. They tend to wait longer than you want. It is noteworthy that the share price did not react positively to the news and was down 5% in the following days. Phase 2 and 3 trials will be large, expensive, and complicated, so they should partner with a larger drug company. Again, not so easy. The company may have sufficient cash to pay for it. You'd be better off not doing it. Okay. The company filed a shelf registration and a $100 million ATM. The number of shares outstanding has jumped more than 3.4 times. Jesus Christ. Basically, these guys invented, or they say they invented, or they did invent lipo-nanoparticles, which were the encapsulation technique for the COVID vaccines. So theoretically, Moderna and Pfizer has to pay these guys, $5 billion. Okay? At 650 million market cap, that's not so bad. It ends up becoming, a huge amount of money if Pfizer has to pay just 1%. A judge might say, you infringed on this patent, you got to pay 1% of all the COVID vaccine you sold. Oh, that's $2 billion, I think. So imagine they say 5%, So it's a very interesting kind of legal special situation. So there's a claim construction hearing. Basically, these guys just want the company to just wait, pursue the legal thing, and that's about it. So I guess he had a fund at some point. This is the guy. He was short Portugal way back when. I'm reading this old article about him in this guy's head. Who is he? If he was trading Portuguese debt, he's probably not a biopharma guy. He goes to fancy hedge fund banquets and fundraisers. See, this is the kind of life I don't live. I could do this every night for the rest of my life. Just go to these fancy affairs, do air kisses.
Order cancelled.
This is his biggest investment, it looks like. He's got Roivant and Liquidia as well. So he's doing a bunch of biopharma. James Bond is there with the subtext. Yeah, that's the kind of party it is. Bond, James Bond. Okay, so Arbutus. Has Arbutus not put out a press release in the last 2 months? Doesn't look like it. Okay, Arbutus is a plant as well, but that's not what we're looking for. Well, what's funny, okay, so on the legal investing side, what's cool about this, and I think we should do this for Gödel, is imagine the judge comes out with a ruling, right? And it shows up on Pacer, and you're not looking at Pacer, you could have a whole hour before it hits the rest of the market to sell or buy. Yeah, we need to get that. We need to get that locked and loaded. But I want 1% of the profits. If I'm going to make that software for you, I want 1% of the profits. It could be a handshake deal, but I want 1%. Let's read this press release. Extensive virology expertise, which has gotten them nowhere. 250 million people have chronic Hep B, including me. What? If 250 million people have it, that means I don't have Hep B. That means 1 out of how many people are watching? That's 1 out of 30. So one of you guys is chronic Hep B? I know this. I know this. Market's overvalued, man. We've been saying this for a while. You got Microsoft canceling data centers. Okay, so they have some drug. They're not even explaining what the drug is called. Okay, there it is. Imdusiran. For Arvinis, I'm not sure what's going to happen, right? There's not that much data that you could really parse, it's going to do well or it's not going to do well. There's zero data. So the phase 3 is I kind of like it, but there's also a lot going on in that 𝗟𝗏 world. 𝗟𝗏 is, there's a lot of 𝗟𝗏s. Vinecoin, so I don't know if you guys have seen Vinecoin, but people have gotten killed on Vinecoin, man. It's 3 cents. Shorting it, I want to say in the 20s. It's 3 cents now. 3 cents. Okay, so this is the wonder drug that you're buying when you buy Arbutus, Imdusiran. And they did a phase 2A trial for this. Hep B has been a tough nut to crack. A lot of companies have tried. I was in this one stock, Assembly, which did not go great. Made me a baggie. See if they're still around, actually. ASMB. Yeah. We're gonna have to look at them if we're gonna look at Arbutus, I think. Yeah, I explained it earlier. When you're burning theta as a strategy, you kind of want to take advantage of volatility, so you pay your theta bill. Now, the flip side is that it's hard to take advantage of volatility. As the stock goes down, you naturally get more short, so covering is a little bit of a good strategy, especially if you get a rebound, then you can reshort and you avoid some of that theta that you lose. Yeah, Henry, I don't know what you know about securities law, but you can give financial advice, right? I can tell you don't put all your money in Vine. I can tell you that I like NVIDIA or I don't like NVIDIA. Maybe you can tell me why I can't say that. Now, this is not financial advice. Man, I don't care. You can't share your opinion. All right, let's keep reading. So they did this 𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗏. Yeah, gotta ask Elon for to remove all my bans. The problem is I'll just get them again. That's nice try, Satan. Democrats won the last election and you're banned again. That's all right, I got something for them. I got tricks up my sleeve. I'm gonna do some tricks on it. I think that the opinions are my own thing kind of makes sense if you're working at a big company, because you really don't want anybody accusing you of saying that you're representing your company's opinions. Nevertheless, if you're in a position where you're a cashier at McDonald's, nobody's going to be confusing your opinions for McDonald's official stance on something unrelated to McDonald's. And if they are going to confuse it, then you might as well not say anything anyway. So it's definitely kind of stupid, I agree, but I sort of understand it at least. But the not financial advice thing is that's meant to protect somebody who could get in trouble for giving financial advice. I don't think anybody should pay any attention to Nancy Pelosi. It also, that tells me that somebody doesn't know what they're doing as well. Okay, so they did this study, 𝗡𝗡𝗏𝗏. There's a bunch of RNAis being developed. I don't know SMCI. I'll look into it a little bit. So Imdusiran, November 2024, AASLD. I would follow great investors. Philippe Lafont, Chase Coleman, Balpo Seth Klarman, Robert Citron, any tiger, Viking, Lone Pine, Citadel, you know, anybody that's made billions in the market is worth a follow. Soros. 6 doses of imdusiran and 24 weeks of PEG interferon alpha 2A or 2 alpha. Added to ongoing nucleotide therapy. What's the nucleotide therapy like? Baraclude? Functional cure rate of 3 out of 6 people. Mr. D's. So that's hepatitis B, antigen negative. No, that's okay. That's 3 out of 6 were antigen negative. And then 3 out of 12 overall. I mean, is this data impressive? Okay, they add low dose nivolumab, interesting. And then Arbutus Biotherapeutics. Oh, these guys are public. Never heard of these guys. Assume they were some hotshot private, but they're some random penny stock. AB101 is an oral PD-L1 inhibitor. Wait, that's kind of interesting. An oral PD-1 inhibitor? Okay, so the trial for Moderna is September. That's not too far away. So only 7 months. Exciting.
Autofilm.
I like that. Oh, I would love it if Moderna had to go over like $3 billion. Ooh, I would love it. I'm a value investor, I think. Solana's 152.81. It's not an oral mAb. I mean, there are oral PD-L1 inhibitors. There's a crystal structure. You can inhibit it. It is a protein-protein interaction, isn't it? Ooh, 6 to 8B? Bankrupt Moderna, let's go. I mean, Moderna can't afford it. Pfizer can afford it. I'm not sure Moderna can afford it. I'm loving it. Are you long this 827? This could be interesting. Now, the problem is my emotions are getting the best of me. I just want to see Moderna lose. That was long-standing beef with the company. Neither here nor there. Oh, wow. Target Hospitality had the government's canceled their contract. Target always had pretty low margins, so the government has to find a new group to do their food. But I guess they're going to need less food if there's less people working there. Bankruptcy candidate? Yeah, Pfizer can cut a check for $3 billion, $2 billion, whatever. And then they just press Moderna. Press them worse than Inwood on the one train. That's Shkreli in a ski mask. Give me that money. Are you Martin Shkreli? Shut up! I thought you were rich. Give me your money. Shkreli, I'm a big fan. Shut up! It's not me. I don't think there's a chance AVXL gets approved. That's like the Vince McMahon walkout song. No chance. So these guys are burning a lot of cash. I could see why the activist doesn't like that. Just stop spending my money. Okay, so it sort of all boils down to this lawsuit. And I really don't know if, I don't know the claims of the case, right? Like legal cases, you really have to get into the head of the judge. How does the judge think about these things? And now sometimes they telegraph it pretty clearly too. AVXL is a decision, not a data. Data is already out. They're not running any trials. I think there is a difference in US versus Europe investors, how they look at stocks. Yeah. Not too different. I think IonQ will disappoint on guidance. I mean, they've already told us the quarter was good. Yeah, the whole EMA clock I've never really mastered, which is kind of embarrassing because I'm supposed to be a elite biopharma investor, but that's never been my AMC. Are you joking? Are there still AMC baggies? From 300 to 3. Don't worry. If it goes up 100x, you'll break even. 8 strong together. Oh no, there's no way there's an AMC subreddit. I want to get maybe I'm banned from it. Let me see if I can get into my Reddit. Oh, they're really in on this short. They're really interested in this short stuff. Market manipulation is prohibited. 10 shares moves the stock 5%. Yeah, pre-market. We'll do some work on the lawsuit, but Arbutus is definitely interesting. Market can drop a lot further. There's nothing that says the market can't go down way more. If you're nervous about that, you got to get some shorts. No, I kicked a Palantir out a while ago. I wish I stayed in it. Even it's up even after this big decline. Okay, yeah, let's look at Coupang. That's a good one. I don't know much about these guys, and it's a pretty big company, so let's just... It's a Korean thing, if I'm not mistaken? So billion some odd shares, 24 large stocks, so this is a big company. Yeah, retention is pretty common in most of these, but I mean, I do think AI, changes the tutor game a little bit, but people use Shed for lots of things. All right, so almost a 50 billion market cap. Really big company, 44 billion. Yeah, we're not really making any AI apps. Gödel doesn't have too much AI in it. NVIDIA, the rumor that Microsoft is canceling data center contracts, even though there was a lot of bullishness on CapEx, talk is cheap, and those numbers can change at any time. Having said that, there's a pretty smart guy out there saying that NVIDIA is going to double revenues next year, which is way above where Wall Street's at. So you just have to ask yourself what's going to happen. I mean, it's very hard to decide. You have xAI out there basically saying the more chips you buy, the better the product you get. Okay. So who's left as a customer? You've got OpenAI, right? They're gonna be a multi-billion-dollar customer with Microsoft. You got X. He's raising another 10 billion. Rumor has it to buy more chips. Could be raising another 20 billion, right? We just don't know. Amazon and Anthropic, although I think Amazon's pretty cheap, so Anthropic's gonna have to raise a lot more if they're gonna really compete. So now who's left? How many more companies are going to really sink in 10, 20 billion plus into CapEx? Google's out there, but Google's also got TPUs. It's hard to find. I mean, Meta's out there buying these things. Just not that many companies left, man, who can really, really buy a ton of GPUs. It's not that much cash raised. All these guys raised cash already. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the problems with growth is that the job gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, and you just can't grow forever. I think companies like Figure will buy GPUs, and Tesla. Yeah, there's a couple of other buyers, but yeah, there's also the possibility of making your own chips. It's tough. If I'm in NVIDIA sales right now, I mean, there's only so much money these companies have raised, and it all goes to GPUs. So I think demand is really great, don't get me wrong, but these machines aren't a whole lot better. I mean, I do think there's a couple of companies that have thrown their hat down and said, we're going to go the distance. xAI, OpenAI, I guess AWS Anthropic or Google Anthropic. We're going to spend as much money as possible. We want as many machines as possible. We can never have enough machines. That's fine, but even those companies are somewhat capital constrained. Microsoft OpenAI isn't really, but there's still a limit. And NVIDIA revenue has grown quite a lot, so the gap to fill is just really big. I think DeepSeek doesn't help at all. So, yeah. I mean, again, NVIDIA might have a very good quarter and give very good guidance. So just keep that in mind. There's nothing that is stopping that from happening. Really don't, just I'm giving you something to think about. I'm not necessarily saying go out and sell this immediately. Okay, yeah, so it looks like retail margins here for Coupang. Really, really small margins. But high growth. 27% revenue growth year over year last quarter. Not bad. Yeah, I'm more concerned with Evan. I mean, he really did absolutely nothing wrong other than represent me as a lawyer. I still believe I did nothing wrong. He got indicted. He got 18 months, but it was really unfair. I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't done stupid things before, but I don't think I've done illegal things before. Basically, the reason the guy was indicted was you could rely on advice of counsel as a defense to a crime. You say, I'm just doing what my lawyer told me to. But there's an exception called the crime fraud exception. They basically say, okay, you listen to your lawyer, but you and your lawyer conspired to be criminals. That's the way they get around that. I actually almost never met face-to-face with my attorney because I was busy. I was on the phone working my butt off building one of the fastest growing drug companies of all time. But, it is what it is, man. I don't let a hater get me down. Okay, so Coupang has some cash flow. $1 billion here, $2 billion last year. PP&E, 665 and 662. So 54 times earnings with that kind of growth. I'd like to see what the business is in more detail, but my first inclination is long. They didn't even subpoena him. They just barged in his house and arrested him. I don't believe in gamma squeeze as much as others do. I don't believe it's fake. I think it's real, but I try to stick to the fundamentals and the values. You know, market shenanigans are... Yeah, I'm sort of wondering how big the South Korean market is in the first place. That was funny. My prosecutor was trying to get me in more trouble because I was using the jail email. And of course, they get to read the jail email. It's totally unfair. I was like... Dude, I was so upset. Good work ethic. It means you take your career very seriously and you put it ahead of frivolities. Frivolous nonsense. Yeah, it's really funny. If you go to jail, you can use the email system, but the people who put you there are reading your emails. I think I was at peak deep state, you know, and well, I think the deep state peaked a few years after I got arrested, but the media, I was at peak media. So media a few years after had already sort of fallen. I was the top of the media. But the media was still we can ruin your life. And I'm like, no, you can't. And they're like, he's laughing at us. No, BuzzFeed, we're serious business. You know what? I'm gonna write an article. And then the prosecutor's like, oh my God, we gotta get this guy. HuffPo is the best. Yeah, if you don't answer their questions the way they want you to, you're harassing them. It's Elizabeth Warren. They all work for Elizabeth Warren, or they want to. So when Elizabeth Warren wants an article written, they write it for her. All it takes is a phone call. They're like, yes, Miss Warren, we're on it. We're on the case. And Bloomberg does a lot of those, by the way. Bloomberg, the software is great, but Bloomberg News, man, they're as liberal as it gets. I like this stock a lot, actually. Growth is insane. I mean, if you think about the market cap, let's see, what's the South Korea's GDP is $1 trillion? One, maybe two? Yeah. I think it's exciting. Probably get a double out of Coupang pretty easily. I disagree with Elon on a lot of things. You know, I still admire the guy, but I mean, everybody's got to do their own thing, man. I don't worry about him. He doesn't worry about me. Let's say he said some nice things about me to a mutual friend. Coupang is this week, huh? Interesting.